We just stepped on their face with a hobnail boot and broke their nose. We just crushed their face.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Glory UGA podcast, brought to you by good friends at MyBookie and Alumni Hall. And Hate Week is finally upon us, and with Black Friday rapidly approaching, it is now time to reveal that final score prediction for this year's edition of Clean Old Fashioned Hate. If you're a diehard George fan, you come to the right channel. Go ahead, subscribe right now, turn those notifications on, like, comment. What are your thoughts on this match between the Dogs and the Jackets in Atlanta? Will Georgia come out on top again, or will the Jackets be able to get up off the mat after a tough home loss to Pitt last weekend? But all right, guys, if you do want a more comprehensive breakdown of this matchup between Georgia and Georgia Tech, I encourage you to go back and check out the deep dive preview that I posted earlier in the week. That I broke the game down from every conceivable angle, so go check that out. But today, I'm going to wrap things up, put a nice little bow on it with some keys to the game and my final score prediction for this Georgia Tech matchup. And guys, look, I know that Tech is limping into this game. They opened the season 8-0. They've now lost 2 of their last 3, and their lone win in that stretch involved a furious fourth quarter comeback against a 1-10 Boston College team that quit, about like 2 months ago. And now, after such a promising start to this 2025 season, the Jackets sit here with both their ACC title hopes and their college football playoff hopes officially 6 feet under. They're dead in the ACC. I don't see any conceivable way they get back in the college football playoff picture. Like, even if there's like mass carnage on a rivalry weekend, I still don't. I mean, whether it's in at 23 right now, I don't see any way they get back into that at-large bid picture. So, considering the context, I know that a lot of Georgia fans, because I've heard from a lot of you guys, are sitting there licking your chops ahead of this Black Friday matchup at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, because a lot of Georgia fans out there are of the mind, and I get where they're coming from, are of the mind that Tech's just done. They're done. The loss of Pitt just took all their will out of them. It demoralized them, robbed them of any fight they had left in them, and now they're just done. They just don't have anything left to face Georgia on Friday at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And that's one line of thinking. But me personally, guys, I'm not so convinced that's the case. It could go that way. I'm not here to tell you it can't go that way. It certainly could. I mean, the loss to Pitt, losing 2 of your last 3, when you had the entire season out in front of you, and you drop the game to NC State, who's, I mean, okay, they're still trying to fight to get into a bowl. You drop one to NC State. You then almost drop one to Boston College, who's so bad, maybe the worst Power 4 team in all of Power 4 football, guys. And then you drop it's to a good Pitt team, but you drop a home game to Pitt at night when that could have locked up a spot in the ACC title game for you. And who knows, maybe a college football playoff bid. So I know it could go that way. I totally understand that. But I think it could also go a totally different way. Like, sure, yes, their ACC title and their CFP hopes, like, they're dashed. They're done. But there's still one goal. There's still one goal left out there for the Jackets to achieve. And if you know Tech, that one goal is by far the most important of all to them: beating Georgia. They come to every year, guys. Let's be real. Georgia Tech, every year, they come into the season. That is their number one goal: beating Georgia. I know it's such a cliche, but I don't want to say they go like 1-11. If that one wins against Georgia, it's a good year for them. But they'd feel pretty good about it. Honestly, if you know anyone that is of Tech persuasion, you know what I'm talking about. Because if you look at this matchup, guys, this rivalry, if you want to call it that, which hey, it is a rivalry. I freaking hate Tech. I freaking hate them. They don't really ever beat us. But those of you who've been around long enough to remember when they do beat us, it is the worst. It is the absolute worst, guys. It's a year I just like, there's like lost years, man. Can't deal with it. But right now, Georgia is on a 7-game win streak over Tech, has won 13 of the last 15 in the series. In fact, the Dogs have won 20 of 23 matchups in this series this century. So I do not think it's a stretch to suggest that Tech fans in general, like, everyone has their own goals, their own aspirations, right? But the average Tech fan, I don't think it's a stretch to suggest they want this game more than an ACC title. Like, what means more to a Tech fan? Like winning a garbage ACC conference, or rival who's been one of the big dogs in college football for quite some time. Won two of the last four. Maybe we'll see what happens this year. But if we don't win it this year, it'll be two of the last five. Still national titles out there. I don't think it's crazy to say that maybe there's some Tech fans out there that would prefer beating Georgia over getting a college football playoff bid. I don't think that's crazy to say. And with what I know of Brent Key, don't love Brent Key, respect him though. What I know of him and how he has built his program, the culture that he has cultivated there in Atlanta, and the hatred, let's not discount this, guys, the hatred that man personally harbors for Georgia, the way that Kirby Smart personally harbors some very serious hatred for Georgia Tech, for Florida, for Tennessee, all of our rivals out there. I fully expect to see a very motivated Georgia Tech team on Friday in Atlanta. I am fully expecting, I'm going into this one fully expecting to get their best shot. I think it could go that way. Now, it could go the way that a lot of people are thinking it's going to go, and like they just don't show up and they're dead and their spirits crushed. It could go that way. I just know how much they hate Georgia. I know how much beating Georgia means to them. I know how much their head coach hates Georgia. I know how much it had to hurt for them to lose the game the way they lost last year. I know how much it has to suck to lose 20 of 23 games in a century to your biggest rival, your in-state rival. I know that sucks. So yeah, I do expect them to get up off the map to some degree and give Georgia their best shot on Friday. But unfortunately for Georgia Tech, if they get Georgia's best shot, even if Georgia Tech throws their best shot at Georgia, if they get Georgia's best shot, it doesn't really matter. Because for a couple of reasons, guys. Number one, Georgia is clearly just the more talented team overall. Like Tech's got some talent. Haynes King's had a spectacular year for Tech. He's a very, very good football player, especially in that system that they run. But Georgia's the more talented team. Like that's not even like debatable, right? Like that's just obvious. And beyond that, because matchups because talent doesn't always win. Like talent is a great starting point, but the most talented team does not always win every game. That's why we have upsets in college football. Georgia was clearly more talented team last year against Georgia Tech, and we almost lost that game. We were down 17-0 in the first half. Took 8 overtimes to win that game. So we know that matchups also matter. But that's why I really like Georgia's chances in this game, guys. Because not only is Georgia a more talented team, the matchups this year, because it's the new year. It's not 2024 anymore, guys. This is a different Georgia team. The matchups this year favor Georgia in a big way in this game. Let's start here. What does Tech do best on offense if you've watched them play all year? Now, they are much more balanced this year than they ever have been under Buster Faulkner and Brent Key. But still, what they want to do is establish the run. Like their pass game is all built off being able to establish run. They don't have a great drop back pass game on third and long situation like that. They want to be ahead of the chains. They want to be in unpredictable situations because you don't know if they're going to run the ball or if they're going to throw the football. And that's what makes Tech really tough to handle is they're in those unpredictable situations. But still, they want to establish run first and foremost. If they can establish run, they're going to have a really hard time beating anyone, especially a team as talented as Georgia. So they clearly, even though they're more balanced this year, they still run the football better than they do anything else. It all starts with the Tech run game. They are a top 20 team nationally rushing offense. They're top 10 nationally in yards per rush from an efficiency standpoint. They're averaging 215 rushing yards a game and 5.75 yards per rush. Guys, that's elite. 5.75 yards per rush. They are an elite rushing attack. But then on the flip side, let's go matchups here, right? Okay, Tech, great. Really good running the football. But what does the Georgia defense do best? What has the Georgia defense done best all year, like from the jump? And it's never really let up. Stop the run. Anyone who's watched Georgia football this year knows that. Georgia right now is top 5 nationally in rush defense, going to 87 yards a game, giving up less than 3 yards per rush, only 2.99 yards per rush. And guys, here's another number for you. Georgia has now played 11 games, right? Well, Georgia has held 6 of its 11 opponents this season to under 100 rushing yards. Not a math guy. I can do that. That's more than 50% of our opponents. So we have held to under 100 yards rushing. In fact, guys, not a single team, not one single team, not even Ole Miss, who's got a great offense, runs the ball well, not one single team has cracked 4 yards per rush against Georgia this season. Not one team. Now, Tech, obviously, if you've watched them play this year, and like Georgia's played some good running teams, we have, but Tech will absolutely be the biggest test to date for this Georgia defense, for the Georgia rush defense in particular. Because again, guys, Tech's awesome on offense. Like now they haven't played much anybody, but statistically they're very, very good. Top 5 total offense, top 5 yards per play offensively. But there's one thing that I've been harping on since last year's game that I don't really hear like people talk about, but I keep talking about over and over again because I believe it, and I'm going to mention it here again. Yes, Tech pushed Georgia to the absolute brink last year, and we had to fight back, crawl back, scratch back to win that game. But I think a big factor, I think people ignore the context of that game. I don't think that Georgia was fully prepared for the offense that they saw against Georgia Tech last year. Why did I say that? Because if you go back to last year, guys, Haynes King, for a number of weeks heading into the Georgia game, was hurt. Didn't play. He missed a couple games. The week before they played Georgia and came to Athens, Haynes King, yeah, he played against NC State on Thursday night, but barely. And when he tried to throw the football, I think he had like 3 attempts. I think he's like three of three for like 7 yards. The guy could not throw the football more than 5 yards on the field. I said it on the deep dive preview. I'll say it again here real quick. I remember vividly watching a play last year in that NC State game, Tech NC State Thursday night. They run in, it was like essentially, it's one of their RPOs, and he pulls it, right? He has the mesh, he pulls it, guy wide open about 4 or 5 yards down the field, like in the flats. Haynes King has no pressure in his face, his feet are set, and he throws it like 2 yards, 3 yards in the dirt in front of the receiver because he didn't have the arm strength to get it to the receiver. He had his shoulder jacked up. So I'm watching, I'm like, there's no way this guy is playing next week against Georgia. And our coaches saw the same thing, guys, right? So you only have 20 hours a week to prepare for your opponent. You don't have an infinite amount of time. So you have to make decisions. Okay, what are we going to dedicate our time to? Like, what offense are we preparing for? And the Aaron Philo offense that Tech was running when Haynes King was injured was a very different offense than the offense that Tech runs and ran last year with Haynes King at the helm. So Georgia, in my estimation, I don't know this for a fact, but just kind of reading the tea leaves there, spent a lot of time, I would say the majority of our time last year, preparing for the Aaron Philo Georgia Tech offense, which is clearly not what we saw. I was shocked when Haynes King came out there, and not that he came out there to start, because he can run the ball a little bit, just couldn't really throw it. I was shocked that he was actually throwing the ball down the field. Like the guy couldn't throw the ball 3 yards like last week. He couldn't do it. And so I think our coaching staff was probably caught a little bit off guard with that. And this year, there is no mystery on who Georgia will be facing at the quarterback position on Friday. Georgia is not going to be torn between like what type of Georgia Tech offense do we prepare for. There is one Georgia Tech offense they've been running all year, and that is the offense that Georgia will see on Friday. Now, will there be some wrinkles? Sure, of course, probably. But we don't have to worry about, like, are they going to have, is it going to be Aaron Philo? Is it going to be Haynes King? Like, who do we prepare for? We know exactly who we are preparing for in this game. And while this was certainly, I think this is also important too, guys. While this was certainly, yes, I do agree, as I said earlier, be the biggest test for the Georgia rush defense. And I do think the Georgia run defense will be challenged in a way that it hasn't exactly been challenged all year. We've been challenged against some teams that run the ball well, but not like Tech does. This is also the biggest test, biggest challenge for this Georgia Tech offense. Out of 11 games to date, guys, now with the Pitt game in the rear view, Tech has only played 2 games against teams currently with a winning record. Against an AC, I guess that's 3 now if you throw in Duke, because Duke did beat North Carolina, so 3. And that's against an ACC schedule that includes the likes of Boston College, who's terrible. Syracuse, oh my God, they might be as bad as Boston College. I might even pick Boston College to beat Syracuse this weekend. Is that crazy? Yeah, probably, but I might do it because Syracuse is dead. NC State, okay, fine. Duke, solid, but I mean, not inspiring. Wake's had a good year. Clemson's been up and down, and Virginia Tech fired their coach after like week 3. And against that ACC schedule, that does not include Miami, does not include Louisville, does not include SMU, doesn't include those teams, right? Doesn't include Virginia, right? They're outscoring that ACC schedule by less than 4 points a game. Less than 4 points a game, guys. Now, the best rush defense that Tech has faced to date this season was Pitt on last Saturday. And what did Tech do against that Pitt defense? How did that dominant Tech rushing attack fare against that Pitt defense? Well, Pitt held them to 121 yards rushing and 3.7 yards per rush. Now, do you think a part of that has that Pitt got out to an early lead, kind of took Tech out of what they want to do, made Tech a little bit more predictable, which if Tech's predictable, they don't have the talent to really match up, so that's tough for them. But guys, Pitt held them to 121 and 3.7 yards per rush. And Georgia's run defense, yep, you guessed it, is better than the Pitt run defense. And what hurt Georgia, what has hurt Georgia the past 2 years, especially the last 2 years against Tech, has been poor eye discipline. Like all the misdirection that they're actually, because it's a modern-ish style triple option in its own way, right? Like they have multiple options built in every play. They have heavy quarterback run game, a lot of misdirection, and they get your eyes all over the place. And we've had a lot of busts and a lot of discipline issues in recent years. But this Georgia defense is far more disciplined in its eyes and is reading its keys and guys doing their job and not trying to do someone else's job and not going out there and freelancing, far more disciplined than I think either of the last two iterations of a Georgia defense. I would feel a lot better if CJ Allen can go in this game. And the more we progress this week, the more I'm hearing like there's a shot. If you would have asked me a couple days ago, I'd be like, probably not. I don't see it happening. But now I'm hearing there's maybe possibly a shot. I'm still skeptical. But hey, that'd be great if CJ could play. But even if he doesn't, guys, we're a loaded inside linebacker. Really Wilson's played at a really high level. He's seen this Tech offense for a couple of years now. Even guys like Chris Cole got a chance to see it last year. So we're loaded there. And one thing that we do really well, that has been an issue for us at times in recent years, is we set the edge so well this year, guys. Like Contavious Johnson and Gabe Harris have not been dominant pass rushers off the edge for us. They have been elite edge setters for Georgia, and a big part of why Georgia has been so good defending the run. We're strong up the middle as well, but the edges have been really strong for us as well, and Tech will try to attack the edges, so I do like that for Georgia here. It's strength on strength. It's what it is, guys. When you look at the Georgia Tech rushing offense and the Georgia rush defense, this is a strength on strength matchup. So I'm not saying that Georgia's going to go out there and just completely stifle the Tech run game and hold them to under 100 yards the way that Georgia has to 6 of its other 11 opponents so far this season. But at the same time, I do not see Tech running all over this Georgia defense. Now, they had a lot of success running the ball against Georgia last year, right? But this Georgia rush defense is a lot better than it was a year ago. Again, we're top 5 nationally right now in rush defense, and that's been the calling card for this defense all year long. It's just a tough matchup for Tech, who wants to be able to run the football, and if they can't, that's a problem, guys. So here's the thing. I think this is a key for Georgia. Not just stopping the run. Let's be more specific here. Stopping the run on early downs. Win on early downs. Get Tech to 3rd and long. Because if you do, guys, if we get Tech to 3rd and long on a relatively consistent basis, Haynes King will turn the ball over. He's been really good protecting the football the last 2 years. Why? Because they're not in 3rd and long very often. With the way they run the football, they're in 3rd and short, 3rd and medium. So they're unpredictable. It's kind of like a triple option offense. When they're unpredictable, it can mitigate a talent gap, which is what we have in this game. But when you make them predictable, then all of a sudden they're not so dangerous anymore, right? You go back 2 years ago when they didn't run the ball quite as well. Hayden King threw 16 picks 2 years ago, guys. So one of the worst in all of FBS football in throwing interceptions. So he's got the, and you saw it against Pitt. He'll force the football when they don't have the benefit of the run game there. So if we can win on early downs, I really like Georgia's chances here, guys, because Haynes King, he's Superman on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. He's pretty pedestrian when you get 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11. So if Georgia can win on early downs, get them 3rd and long on a pretty consistent basis, I really do like Georgia's chances to force Tech into some turnovers and really limit the effectiveness of this Tech offense in general, guys. And if Tech can't run the football, if they can't find a way to do it against this really, really good Georgia rush defense, they're going to have a really, really hard time winning this game on Friday. But that's just the tip of the iceberg here, y'all. The match between the Georgia run game and the Tech rush defense is the mismatch of the game. Like, I'm not saying it's a mismatch between Georgia's run defense and Tech's rush offense. I just think that Georgia's strength against the run can mitigate Tech's strength trying to run the football. But this is where things go off the rails for Tech, guys. In general, the Georgia Tech defense is freaking hot garbage. In general, they're 107th nationally, 409 yards a game allowed, an insane 6.05 yards per play allowed, guys. That's wild. That's atrocious. And they're, for the most part, equally bad against the pass and the run. They don't really defend either one well. But I do want to focus on the run game here and the run defense, because that's what Georgia does best on offense. Yes, Georgia has the ability to throw the football, create some explosive plays in the pass game. But like Tech, what we do best is we run the football, we establish run, we work play action off of that. And Tech is 96th nationally against the run. They're giving up 175 rush yards a game against ACC opponents. I know Georgia's an SEC opponent, but I use ACC opponents because they're the best teams that Tech has played this year, right? And against the best teams they played, even a bad ACC schedule, by the way, giving up 175 rushing yards a game, giving up 4.65 yards per rush, which is 104th nationally. Guys, Pitt is 104th nationally in rush offense. 104th nationally in rush offense. And they just had a dude go for over 200 against this same Tech defense less than a week ago. And guys, remember how bad I told you that Mississippi State was against the run a couple weeks ago? Like, everyone was freaking out after the 40 game. Oh my God, like, how is Georgia going to stop the Mississippi State offense? They're going to throw all over Georgia. I'm saying, guys, like, it might not be the best matchup for Georgia, although I think that was a little bit of a stretch, but it's a far worse matchup for Mississippi State. They can't stop them to save their life. And what does Georgia do? Georgia runs the football, baby. And we're going to run the football down their throat all game long. I told you guys that coming into the game. And what happened? Oh, yeah. We remember how that went. Georgia ran for 3 bills plus in that game, right? Well, guys, I bring that up Because as bad as Mississippi State was, it is against the run. When I told you guys that a couple weeks ago when we played them. Well, Tech is like 20 spots worse in rush defense than even Mississippi State is. And again, what did Georgia do to that Mississippi State defense? And that was on the road in Starkville. This is not like you're going to call this a road game for Georgia. This is a neutral site at best for Tech. At best, it's going to be more Georgia than Georgia Tech there, in my opinion. And guys, Tech is bad against the run, even without an opponent having a numbers edge in the box. But with Gunnar Stockton, that quarterback, and his ability to run the football, Georgia will be able to get a +1 advantage whenever it wants it, guys. Be able to use Gunnar as a runner, but whether he's optioning off somebody, whether he's using a running back as a lead blocker, and that will make it even more difficult for a Tech defense that struggles to stop the run, even when teams don't have a +1 situation where the quarterback can run the football. It'll make it even tougher for this Tech rush defense against Georgia. So yes, I do expect Georgia to be able to establish the run, which will set the Dogs to generate some explosive plays off of play action, which we've done a really good job of in recent weeks, against a Tech defense that, oh, by the way, is 131st nationally out of 136 teams in plays of 30 or more yards allowed. Guys, they're giving up chunks and chunks and chunks of yards, both on the ground and through the air. Georgia can establish run, which I do believe they will against this very, very bad Tech rush defense. I think that will open up opportunities for Georgia to really cut open Tech with some of those explosive plays down the field off play action. So yes, from a matchup standpoint, Georgia should win this game and win it comfortably. But it is a rivalry game. I do think that matters. And flying in the face of what I think is prevailing wisdom right now in the Georgia fan base, I do expect Tech to get up off the mat and give the Dogs their best shot on Friday. But after the way last year went, I also expect Tech to get our best shot in this game. They are not going to catch us sleeping this year, guys. They're just not. They're not going to catch us sleeping the way they did last year. And Georgia right now is playing its best football of the season, really starting to peak late in the year at the right time. While Tech, on the other hand, is arguably playing its worst football of the season right now down the stretch. And they don't have the benefit of us, guys, again, having to play the guessing game as to who is going to be lining up under center for Georgia Tech. Having to wonder what type of Tech offense should we prepare for. We know exactly what type of Tech offense to prepare for. We know who we're going to face on Saturday in a way that I don't think that we did a year ago. So with all that in mind, guys, give me the Dogs to win this one. 34-24. Tech puts up a fight early and covers what it's now, last time I checked, a 13.5-point spread. But the Dogs ride their matchup edges, their matchup advantages, to what ends up being a comfortable win in the bins and move on to bigger and better things down the road. So there you go, guys. That's my pick for this year's edition of Clean Old Fashioned Hate. Again, if you're a diehard Georgia fan, you found the right channel for you. So go ahead and subscribe right now, like the video, and comment. What is your take on this year's game? What is your score prediction? I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you guys have a fantastic Thanksgiving, and hopefully it is a Black Friday to remember for the Dogs once again in Atlanta. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you. I'm Tyler, and as always, go Dogs!
Man, is there going to be some property destroyed tonight. 26-21. Dogs on top.